Okay, I think we can get started now. To the guys online, I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me. All right, I want thumbs up. All right, fantastic. So yeah, I think we can kick off the workshop now. All right, thanks everybody for joining in. Good morning. Hi, my name is Joseph. So I'll be taking you through this workshop that's called, can you hear me? All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll be taking you to this workshop that's called AI for Journalists and Media. So what we'll do is, I think for the next hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, I'll just kind of run through basically the tools that you can use for your journalistic work or just media in general. So I just want to do a little introduction about me and what we're doing today. So first of all, my name is Joseph-Albert Kuuire. So I started out in product design. Been doing product design for the past 10 years now. Started around 2014, 2015. But lately, for the past 8 years, I've been doing, I created something called Labari. So Labari is kind of a news tech website that features mostly ecosystem news about Ghana, Africa, everything. So when you see anything that comes with technology in Ghana or Africa, I usually cover it on the website. A couple of months ago, around April, I launched another website, another news platform. It's called the Labari Journal. And that one is more focused on journalism, long-form journalists as a whole. So that covers everything from technology, government, sports, anything to do in Ghana and Africa. So I'm currently running these two platforms. And with these two platforms, what I'm doing is that I'm using different tools like AI and everything to kind of manage the workflow, what I'm doing. So that's basically me in a nutshell. This is just a caricature of me in The Simpsons, in a Simpsons image. I used AI for that, which is very cool. But before we kick off, I know we have some people in the room. Can you just give me your first name and what you do? What do you work as? Custody, this guy. Nice. No, how long have you been doing it? 5 years. Cool. Nice. Thank you for joining. And thanks to the people online too for joining as well. I appreciate you guys for joining in on a Monday morning, which is very busy for most people. But yeah. So this is Tech Labari. Like I said before, this is what I do on a daily basis. Like I said, we focus mostly on news stories in Africa for technology, and this is the Labari Journal. Basically long-form journalism. We focus on people, focus on things that are kind of underreported and not really highly spoken about. So that's what we do on a daily basis. So yeah, we can kick off. The question now is, why are we doing AI in journalism? I think currently in this current age, AI is very ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. It's on our phones, laptop, everywhere. We're currently doing this workshop in the Google AI Center. So you can see that how AI is integrated in everything. Nowadays, with journalism and media too, AI is also creeping into that area as well. Most newsrooms, especially in the Western developing world, are using AI for lots of things now, whether it comes to research, writing, audience engagement. They're using lots of internal tools to get their works done. So I think this workshop is very critical to talk about why we also need to kind of look at why we also need to adapt to AI in Ghana and maybe Africa as well. There are some news organizations like Business Insider already using AI, and it's getting to a point where they're not disclosing that they're using AI, but on the back end, they're using it to draft their stories or tell their stories or publish stuff. So we are in an age where now the lines between real people doing journalistic work and AI doing the work is getting a little bit blurry. But we'll talk about that in another section in the workshop about ethics. But currently, most media outlets, the big ones, Washington Post, Associated Press, Reuters, are using AI in the back end. And they're using it mostly for research and transcriptions and other forms of things. So nowadays, if you're not going to use AI, you're kind of going to be left behind, because now if you're going to be employed in maybe a lot of these news organizations, having knowledge about how AI is used in the newsrooms could be critical for your hiring purposes. And if you've been hiring new workers, maybe you need to take a look about maybe how your journalists can actually use tools to actually get the work done faster and more efficiently. So what we'll be discussing today for the next hour and an hour and a half or so, we'll be talking about prompt engineering, basically how to get around using most of these tools to get the work done. We'll also be talking about using the AI for story research and development. And then in the last part, we'll talk about AI in the newsroom, talk about the ethics parts, about disclosure, transparency, bias, everything like that. So these are the three main things we'll talk about. And these are just some of the tools that are currently out there that can be used for your journalistic work. Some of you may know there's ChatGPT, there is Grok from XAI, Perplexity, Google Gemini, Copilot from Microsoft, Claude. There are a lot of tools out there. It's just a sample of those tools that we use currently. For me, I use the ones outlined. I use Grok, I use ChatGPT. There's a tool called NotebookLM from Google, Perplexity, and Gemini. So I use most of these tools interchangeably for different work or different research that I'm doing. But yeah, we'll go through some of the tools, especially ChatGPT and NotebookLM, to show you how some of these work get done. If you have any questions during the presentation, please, in the chat room, you can actually ask a question or something you understand, or just prompt me for anything you don't get. And during this back and forth, I want to be more interactive. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll just get through them. So the first section we'll talk about is prompt engineering. So every AI tool, when you first go into it, there's always going to be the search box. And it's always going to ask you, what do you want to do today, or what do you want to do for your work? The thing with prompt engineering is that it's easy to go into AI or AI tool and just ask, do this for me. But the art of prompt engineering is that you want to actually be very concise, very specific, because these AI tools are very, very powerful. So depending on what you enter, what you search for, depends on the quality of the output. So if you're more clear and specific, you will get better output and better results for your work. So one of the ways to be specific is, or one of the best templates to use is, you want to give the AI a role-playing, something to role-play. So just an example of it is, you want to ask it, you want to tell the AI, for instance, that, hey, you are this role, and I want you to do this task, and I want you to do it in this way. So, for example, yes, you've told the AI you are an investigative journalist. You want to suggest 5 follow-up questions that you ask at a press conference. So you can be as specific as you want. This is an example. So you can give a roles for your journalism role for, you can be an editor, if you are a journalist, if you are a press consultant, something like that. Role play actually helps, because it puts the AI in this mindset that this is what the person I should be, and this is what the output should be. So these are a couple of prompts for using in the AI tool. So this is a writing prompt. If you are, for instance, if you are somebody who wants to get news out there very, very fast, so this is what you write. So you write a very specific prompt. So this example is saying, write a 200-word news brief in this style, AP style, which is Associated Press. And you want it about this sector. This is Ghana telecom sector growth. So you are telling the AI that I want 200 words, I want it in this style, and I want it on this topic. Because it's easy to just write a news brief about Ghana and the telecom. That's fine, but if you want more specific, you want more clarity, this is the best way to do it. The way I use AI in my writing is, I'm trying to improve my story writing. So what I do on a daily basis is, if I write a story, I want the AI to review that story and give me hints. Because right now I'm running a kind of a media startup, so I don't have like a big newsroom. So I don't have like a general editor or somebody to bounce off ideas off it. So what I use AI for is kind of my editor. So I say, okay, as an editor, I'm giving it this specific role. As an editor, review this story I'm writing about Ghana, say, and Ghana, and provide feedback. Or I can do a press statement, for instance. I can say, draft this press statement about XYZ. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that I recently published. 1 second. Just want to, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you something I recently did. So I recently wrote a story on Ghana's affordable housing situation. So it's like a 900, 800 word article. I published it in September 23rd. It's a 4-minute read. So it's a long article about Ghana's housing situation. I put some data in there, gave some examples, and just basically published it. So what I want the AI to do for this story, let's say if it was a draft article, I've drafted it and I want to be reviewed. What I would do is I'll go into a tool like maybe ChatGPT, for instance, and I want it to review the article for me. So let me just give you an example. So this is the prompt that I asked it to. So I gave it a role, and I said, you are a professional editor in the media industry. And I told it that review this article, and told it, let me know the strengths, the weaknesses of this article, and let me know how it can be improved, and what I should think about when I'm writing another similar article. So what I did is I just took the text from the article and I published it in ChatGPT. So all the 800, 900 words came out here. So at the end, what ChatGPT did was it said, okay, this is what it gave me. This is the output. So it said, these are the strengths of my article. Strong introduction, good use of data, the logical structure is good, comprehensive coverage, and clear writing. Now, tell me about the weaknesses. It says you didn't use enough human voices, so not enough like on the ground people talk about housing prices. Limited attribution. I gave some examples of Western housing, but it wasn't enough according to ChatGPT because again, it has a mindset of a professional editor. So maybe it's now going to the web and search for opinions from maybe other professional editors. And now it's telling me my tone is a bit repetitive in some sections. It said my conclusion could be a bit stronger. And it said I have some weak data hooks. There's not enough timelines or data that could make the story better. So now it's giving me suggestions for improvement. So it's saying I can do more, add more voices. I can do way more analysis. I can use more transitional sentences. And I can sharpen the ending. And I told that I want to know for my next article how to write it better. Now it's saying when writing my next article, I should ask more people. I should balance data with emotion. I should verify some of my sources. I should aim for breadth and not depth. So more like deep dive into story. And I can end with more impact or accountability. So you can use this for practically any story you're writing on. So all you have to do again at the beginning is you have to put the AI in a mindset that this is the role that you're playing and this is what I want you to do. And you have to be very specific. So maybe you've written an article, you want to know how can I improve this article or how can I generate more headlines? So what I can do for this story, right? I can do this thing real quick. So I said, suggest. So I can do suggest 5 headlines for the next upcoming article. It should be concise but easy to understand. So this also helps with headline writing. Sometimes when I'm writing a headline, I want it to be very specific where the reader might see it and immediately be attracted to it. But sometimes my headline may be a bit off or a bit finicky. So sometimes I role play or tell ChatGPT or any other AI tool I'm using, I need some help with the headlines. So I've already given it my article already. Now I was producing this other Some examples, 5 headlines. So it keeps saying why Ghana's affordable healthcare affordable housing keeps failing, high cost of affordable, in quotes, inside Ghana's billion-dollar housing problem, things like that. So you can actually play around with different headlines, different styles. Or I can say, give me a headline, give me some headlines that mimic, let's say New York Times, or Washington Post. And so give me 10 examples. So I'm going to play around with the tool. So when I tell it to do, now it's giving me headlines in those examples, those styles. So it already knows this. It already goes around and sees, okay, I know New York Times, this is their website, this is what they do. I know Washington Post, this is what they do. So when I prompt it to give me these headlines, it's looking at those general media organizations, seeing what style of headlines are they writing. And usually what happens is it's kind of more lengthier, as you can see, compared to the beforehand. This was more concise, but this is more, I guess you can say, stretched out. So yes, so this is basically prompt engineering for journalists. You earn something to help you with when you're writing your article. So you can do various styles. So again, the best way to do it is always to try to put in the role-playing role, not just type in, write this story for me or do that for me. You have to be very specific, give a role-playing, be very concise, even give it a limit, 200 words, 400 words. It will prompt it out and you can use that for your writing. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So yeah, any questions so far on this topic from the online guys as well? Okay, then we can move on. Sure.
And you also add that anyway, most of the people, once it's too long, they need to add a kicker, like the New York Times, for instance. Too long, maybe can also say, okay, let me ask, is it possible to say a 7-word headline, each word?
Oh yes, so I can actually do that. Yes, you can be very, as I said, being very like precise with the numbers. So you can say, suggest a 7-word headline for the housing story, and I can just say, okay, go, and it will give me that concise 7-word headline. Yeah. Yeah, so you can say, so Ghana's affordable, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all these examples to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it will give you that, is that concise. So you can tell it 7, 8, 9, 10. It will give you that headline if you really want that to break it down. And you can do different variations of it. So you can keep iterating if you want to be very concise and very precise. So yeah, you can always do that. And to give you that style. Sorry. Yeah, precise. Okay. Okay, I think somebody was saying, yeah, thanks, Fiona. Yes, so yeah, role playing with the AI tools is very, very, very precise. I think as we go along, I'll show you other tools that you can use. So there's a lot of other tools out there. It's not just ChatGPT. You can use it with, you can use the Grok, you can use it with Gemini, Copilot. All these tools on the back end, prompt engineering is very, very, very specific. And these companies want you to use prompt engineering because it gets the better data out of them. And they can also train on whatever you type and make their products a bit better. Okay. So yeah, if no more questions on this side, I think we can jump into this slide. I think this is kind of my favorite part because this is where I do the bulk of my work. So that's using AI for research and development. So I use this a lot because when I'm writing a story for Labari or Labari Journal, I'm doing a lot of back-end work when it comes to data analysis. And I'm drafting stories that are like 800,000 word long articles. So it takes me a lot of time to actually go cite sources to get research back and then write everything. So this part is very important for me, but I think it's very crucial if you're trying to build or write more stories that have more depth. So how to use AI. So most of the tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and everything else, they are very good at summarizing reports and policy documents, speeches, things like that. They can also generate timeline of events. So for instance, I think there was for instance, let's talk about the Galamsey issue. If you want, you can say, tell Gemini or Google or wherever to generate the timeline of events that happened when it comes to Galamsey. Like, what did the Kuuire administration do to what the Muhammad administration is doing? You can generate that timeline with dates, specific time where they maybe outlaw policies, things like that. And you can also translate sources for cross-border stories. So I think there was a story last year. It was about Société Générale, the bank. They came and said that they're selling their assets in different African countries, including Ghana. But the story I got was from a French media house in France. Of course, when they write the story, they write it in French. So I can't read it. So what I use one of the tools to actually just copy the story and translate it into English, and just summarize the story for me so I can know what's happening. So things like that, you can use the tools to actually just take stories from different countries and just say, I want it in English or whatever, and it can give you that. I'm hoping eventually, once we localize our languages here on Google or wherever, we can actually get stories we can also translate into Tree or Dagbani or wherever. But till then, we can just use it for now. But I'm sure it's going to happen in the future because the technology is getting better and better and improving. So, there's for me, there's two tools I use for deep research. One is called Google NotebookLM, and the other is Perplexity. So I'll run through the Google Notebook really quick in the next couple of slides. But yeah, these are the tools I use. But you can still use like the other tools like ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini to do your research. But I like these tools because they're very specific for research. So I like using them for research. There's another thing that I really, really like about the AI tools nowadays. They can do something called audio transcriptions. So I've been in the field where I've been interviewing people for different stories online and everything else. And I need to get like backstories, the quotes and everything. Usually what happened before is I use my smartphone, I go on the ground and I record on ground, and then I get the audio. Nowadays, if I'm doing a story that's recording that's like 10, 15 minutes long, it's long. I can't sit down, listen back to it, write the story, especially if it's a deadline story. I need to get it out very, very quickly. So what I've done is, or what I've found is that there are other tools you can use to actually transcribe it faster for you. So I'm going to show you a quick example of one tool that I use for transcriptions. So the tool is called Riverside. So it's a audio and video transcription tool that's powered by AI. And it's free for the meantime. So what you can do with this is, whatever audio you record on your phone or online, what you can do is you can take that audio and put it in this tool and we'll just transcribe it very accurately, very accurately and very, very fast. So I'm going to take a recent interview I did with somebody a couple of months ago. It was a lawyer who does digital nomad. She basically works from anywhere that she wants to work. She's a lawyer, so she has a virtual company online. So I did an interview with her. It was a 40-minute recording interview. And I couldn't, even though I couldn't go back and listen to all the 40 minutes. So I decided that, what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that recording, I'm going to put it into this tool. So this is the MP3 that I did. And this is what I'm just trying to do as far as transcription. Yeah. So what it does is sometimes it's just trying to make sure you're not bots. It wants to make sure that you are who you say you are and not just like you using this thing to kind of, I don't know, hack it or something. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, so I'm putting them, I'm going to just start transcribing. So what it's going to do is going to upload, and then when it uploads, it's going to start transcribing the entire interview I did, that 40-minute interview I did. So normally, if I'm transcribing it, it will take me more than 40 minutes. It take me a longer time. Exactly. So usually, if you're just using a manual form, you are listening back to it. You're writing a story at the same time, and it takes a while. But for what I did is all I did was I took the audio, put it here, and I'm saying, transcribe it for me. It takes about maybe a minute or two, depending on the length of the audio. So 40 minutes could take about 2-3 minutes. Yeah. And this is the story that came out of it. So let me show you real quick. So it's a 6-minute article that I got from all the recordings. So in the story, I've gotten some quotes from the audio I wrote. So I got some quotes from it. Because sometimes I want to know, she said something, and I'm like, okay, what did she say about this? So I go to the audio and I look through it, or the transcription, I look through it, and I pick up my stories. So yeah, it's even done. So yeah, so this is basically the entire transcription from beginning to end. And what I like about it is it picks up the timestamps from the entire recording all the way down. So like I said before, it is a 46-minute interview. 35 minutes. So yeah, it has all the timestamps. So what I usually do is I take this, so I can copy it to my clipboard, and then I'll go to maybe any tool. So let's go back to, so I'm using ChatGPT for now. So what I want to do now is I want to say, summarize this, or you can do whatever prompt you want, but I'm saying summarize this transcript. And what I do is I just copy and paste it, and I say go. So it's pretty fast. So it just gives me a summary transcript. So it's giving me, okay, this is the interview that you did with this person, and it's giving me a summary of what the entire interview was. But what I like to do when it comes to transcriptions, I like to ask ChatGPT or wherever to basic questions from the interview. So for instance, she said that I want to know how many countries she's traveled so far, because that's what I asked in the interview. So I'm saying, give me quotes about countries she has visited. Yeah, so now I'm asking ChatGPT. So I put the transcription there. Now I'm asking ChatGPT, give me this information back. So I'm saying, give me quotes about the countries she's visited, and give me the timestamps from the interview. So what it's going to do now is going to go through the entire, interview process, and tell me the timestamp. So as you can see, it said, oh, she went to Mexico, and she said this at 4:39. Yes, so it will go through the entire interview process or the entire transcript and give you timestamps, specific timestamps, which is very, very cool. So if you want, you can actually go back to your audio and go to that specific timestamp and listen back and see if it's accurate if you want, just to make sure. So she said all these countries she visited with specific timestamps and everything else. And this is a conversation, you can continue to ask ChatGPT or any other tool different questions. So what does she say about, travel in Africa? Because I asked her this question, but maybe I'm not too sure what she said. So I'm asking ChatGPT to go through the transcript and say, what did you say about travel in Africa? And what it does is it will go through that specific and say, hey, this is what she said about Nigeria at 2 minutes. This is what she said about Africa in general at 6 minutes. So it takes all the quotes and gives it to me here. So it goes to the entire, it says this at 2030, traveling Africa is different ballgame, beautiful, but it's not always easy. So that's a quote you can take and put in your article and write it. But again, you can give it so many variations, so many prompts to ask to help you about when you're doing different transcripts. So I've done it for different articles. So I did it for this article, and I did it for a recent article with, I think everybody knows who Musa Dankwa is. He's the general CEO of a company called Global Info Analytics. He does polling. So I had to interview him a couple of weeks ago around September, and I did the same thing. So recorded audio online, and I took that audio and I put it into Riverside. And then when I generated it, I just copied it and I just started asking ChatGPT questions about it, just to make sure that I said this, I can't remember what I said about this question. So I asked ChatGPT, what did I say, or what did he say about this thing? So with this tool, it's very cool because it makes everything very faster. Because if I was doing manually, I have to sit down and listen to everything all at once. But now with ChatGPT and all these other tools, I just go and say, what did he say about this? And to give me a timestamp and to give me the specific quotes. And if I want to, this, depending on you, how you want to do it, you can even create a story from this. So I'm going to say, from this transcript, write a 200-word article about for this. So depending on how you want to do it, you can do anything you want to do. So I want to write maybe a 200-word article and I'll see how to look. So what ChatGPT does is it takes the article, it gives me a title, even a title if I want it, and it just kind of summarizes the entire conversation and it gives me this output. So now this is all 200 words. Now if I say, I want to verify, what do you call it, iterate and say, write a long form article about this.
You want to, as you're writing it stuff, maybe you want to increase something, but AI will possibly give it 200.
Oh yeah. So you're asking about if AI can.
I was thinking the interview you have
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Beyond that.
Oh yes. Oh yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
How is there a way you can prompt it to make sure it's like it includes most of the background?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So that's a good point. So yes, so you can include so yes, so write a long article about it. So I want to be more specific. Like I say, include points about difficulty of travel, and difficulty of travel, obtaining visas, challenges faced, and let me see, and maybe advice she gave about travel. So yeah, so you can put in your specific point, like, okay, I did the interview, but on this point and this point. So again, you put in a tool and it tells you this is what I can get. So now this is a longer form article, but maybe it's not long enough. So I wrote, for instance, the article I wrote, it was, I think it was over 1,000 words. It's a 6-minute article, so like almost like 1,200 words. But this tool just giving you maybe close to 800. But you can say, so for instance, you can go back and say, okay, I want to edit this and make this between 1,200 and 1,400 words. So you can actually keep iterating it to make sure that you actually get what you want out of the article. So now it goes back to the transcript, and now it says, okay, you want this between this many words. So I can say, okay. Okay, so let me, it's saying just transcript. So let me publish the transcript again, come back and just paste it and then say go. Okay. Okay, now this is interesting. Now it's asking me different specific questions. So it's asking me, should the story be first person narrative? Should or should it be third person narrative? Basically, first person is from their point of view, third person is from my point of view. It's asking me, should it be a feature piece for a magazine? Should it be for like a news feature? So it's trying to help me guide me to do it. So I'm going to say, you know what? It should be third person. And yes, for me. So like for me, for my style of writing, or just from my perspective in the interview. So I'm saying it should be third person, and it should be for a feature for a magazine. So now I'm giving more instructions. So it's going to look through that, and boom, it's going to just tell me, give me a headline, and it's going to write that between 1,200 words, 1,400 words, all throughout. Okay, but yeah, you can do this, iterate in different ways. And I think it's a very cool tool when it comes to trying to basically using transcriptions to write a story. So I use this a lot for my interview processes because it's very fast. So yeah, so Fiona is saying that she uses a tool called TurboScribe. So that's another tool. So there are different tools out there. Most of them are free that you can use. You can just upload the audio and it gives you transcription, and it's very faster. So maybe you have if you go to a conference and it's a minister you want to record, you record his audio, you take the audio, the MP3, upload it to your AI tool, it transcribes everything. And it's very faster. You can't record directly with Riverside. There are some tools. I think there's one tool called the script. You can record directly, and it will, from that recording itself, it will directly give you transcription. Because I think it's also use AI on the back end. So if you don't want to now go do this here, now come and do this here, that's fine. But there are tools that you can actually use for free that does direct audio and also transcription at the same time. So that's basically audio transcriptions. Another really useful feature is data and reports. So I try to read a lot of reports that come from the World Bank, local government reports, international standard reports. And what I've noticed, or what I've seen of experience, is that most of these AI tools are very good at summarizing very lengthy reports, like 50-page reports, 80-page reports, and it's very easy. And you can even use these the data points to actually create visualizations. So one thing I like to use for Labari and Labari Journal is I like to create charts and graphs for some specific points. So one thing that was cool, or one thing I tried to do earlier this year is I wanted to find out the longest inaugural speeches from Ghanaian presidents over the years. So what I did was I went to find transcripts from each president for their inaugural speeches, and I put all of them in AI. And when I uploaded everything, I said, I want you to do a word count for me. And what happened was it gave me the word count, and I just put it into this tool I use. It's called Data Wrapper. And what happened was it counted the words, and this is what the output was. So you can see from 2025, John Mahama has the most lengthiest speech. So you can create reports and everything from this. But one tool that I really think is cool, and I see the most popular tool I use now, is something called Google NotebookLM. I think it's one of the coolest tools I've used when it comes to data research and story development. And I think I can show you that example really quick. 1 second. Yeah. So this is Google, excuse me, Google NotebookLM. So they call it an AI-powered research partner. And what you can do is you can upload different sources and it gives you these specific outputs. So you can upload PDFs, websites, YouTube video, audio files, Google Docs, Google Slides. And what happens is it will take those sources and create this kind of comprehensive overview for you to find out. So this is an example, for instance. So I took this document. This is a World Bank research policy document. It's about household business performance in Ghana. It's almost a 50-page report. So it's very lengthy. For me to sit down and actually take a data out, take a while. But I want to just quickly do something about this. So I decided to come to Google LM, and I just uploaded the link to Google LM. And what it did was it produced this kind of overview here, talking about what the article or the paper policy is about. But what you can do, or what I think I like doing, is you can actually chat with this source, for instance. So I want to say, summarize and give me the main points of this paper. So I'm saying, give me bullet points for this paper, and I want you to give it to me, just summarize it for me. So what it does is it goes through that entire document. So this 50-page report. Yeah, it gives me this 50-page report. Go to this 50-page report. It takes out all the bullet points and main points from this article, this paper. And what it does is it gives me a summary. So it's telling me the context and methodology. It's telling me how they did the research. It's telling me the findings. So it's giving me specific findings. It's saying men-owned businesses significantly outperform women-owned businesses in Ghana. It's giving me worker composition. It's telling me about the determinants of business performance. So it gives me a comprehensive overview of what this research is. And you can put almost any data source that you find and put it here, and it will give you out all these outputs. But I think one of the coolest or most interesting thing about this tool is that you can create different things. So something here is called a mind map at the side here. So it will generate kind of a map or just map out the document for you to see everything. But I think another one of the coolest tools, you can create kind of this AI-powered podcast. So sometimes I don't have enough time to read it or even read everything. So what I like to do is I like to create a podcast version of this and listen to it. So on the side here, you can see this is where I've created a podcast already, and I want to listen to it. So it's two virtual people discussing this, and they go through the paper like in a very conversational way. So it's not a lot of jargon. It's not a lot of like terminology, just telling you like a conversation between two people, two newscasters. So let me quickly play so you can hear that conversation.
Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise of economic reports to bring you, well, the insights that really matter.
And often the most surprising ones.
Exactly. So today we're looking at something huge, but often hidden, the informal sector. Think household businesses, market stalls.
The backbone of many economies, really. We're focusing on Ghana, drawing from a recent World Bank paper, and it's a fascinating case.
Yeah, get this. 8 out of 10 people over 15 in Ghana work informally. That's huge.
It is. And here's a key piece of context for you. Over 70% of the small and medium businesses in Ghana, they're actually owned by women.
70%. Okay, so our mission today for you listening is to go beyond just, access to credit or education levels.
Right. We're diving into.
So it takes all that information and it just crunches it down into like a 13-minute podcast. So if you're driving or listening on your earphones, you can actually get the gist of what this whole this thing is. So you can actually learn by listening. Sometimes too, if you want. So what I've been doing, I create these AI podcasts for easy listening. Because sometimes, like my stories I write, they are 6 minutes long, they are 5 minutes long. Some people don't want to sit down and read that. But if you give them a podcast, which is like easy listening, it's much better to consume and absorb the information. But another really cool practical thing about this tool is that you can also create something called a video explainer. So I've created one already, takes some time, but what it does is kind of creates this slideshow with audio and gives you that practical, I guess, learning experience. So this is, and it comes with a voice too. So it's taking that World Bank policy document. It's created this slideshow with audio. So maybe you want to create a YouTube video or something, you can easily do that. So let me just quickly play. Okay. Take the audio out. Okay.
All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating economic mystery from Ghana, all based on a World Bank working paper. It's a story about what makes a business succeed, but it's probably not what you think. It's about psychology and some of the invisible forces that can make or break an entrepreneur. So get this, in Ghana, women are the absolute powerhouses of the small business sector. They manage over 80% of all small informal businesses. I mean, they are truly the backbone of the economy. And yet, here's the puzzle. Despite women running the show in terms of numbers, there's this stubborn gap in how much their businesses earn. So what's going on? Why does this gap exist? That's what we're going to try and figure out. Okay, so let's call this Ghana's entrepreneurship puzzle.
Okay, so yeah, so it gives you kind of, again, it's like a PowerPoint slide about the information. So yeah, it's taking this 50-page working policy document and giving you a 5-minute explainer. So sometimes it helps me create videos that may be a bit complex for the normal average person. It's easier to watch it on your phone or your TV or wherever, and it breaks everything down. So you can basically take this document and you can take it and create a story out of it. So for instance, I want to write a brief about this. So, or create a report. Let me say create a report. No, actually, no, let me write a brief on it. So write a brief story article about this source. So when I do that now, it's going to compress everything and it's going to give me a brief story, which I can then take and edit it into my style and then maybe publish it for maybe the general audience. Yeah. So yeah, so you are basically taking information that's maybe a little complex and breaking everything down. So yeah, so it's taking all that information and it's giving me this kind of brief overview. Yeah. So for me, so it's giving me a headline already, and it's giving me kind of like an overview, a beginning paragraph about the source. And it's giving me all the information. And it's even cited some parts in the policy document for you to check out. So you can take all this and you can just create a story. Because I see a lot of reports and everything out there, but you want to actually get more information and maybe you want to break everything down. So with Google LM, NotebookLM, you can take all this stuff and you can break everything down into simplistic forms. So I have an example here that I used recently. One second, yeah. Yeah, I have an example I used recently for a story I wrote. So there was this story that came out recently. It was an opinion article. It was from somebody who said that Ghana should consider creating a golden visa framework. Yeah, for the diaspora, for the Ghana, because I think over the past couple of years, there's been this kind of ceremony where we gather people from the diaspora and give them citizenship. But this person was saying that maybe we should consider a different framework, that maybe we should actually start doing a golden visa framework. So this is the story. So this is the story that I got. So yes, we kind of consider a golden visa program for African diaspora. So I wrote a story on this. What? Yeah, he's a lawyer. His name is Kofi Asama. the managing partner of John Doe Summer. So yeah, so he wrote the story. So I thought it was he wrote an opinion. I thought it was very interesting. So I took his point and I published a story on this. But I thought it would be very, very cool to actually make it a video explainer. So when I wrote this story, I took my link from here and I put it in Google LM. So when I took that link, so maybe I added a, so I put a link here and I created a video explainer. So what happened was it created this, one second. Okay. So it created this video for me. So on the back end, on the front end, I created like the images and stuff, but essentially it created
All
this
right,
video.
let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating story coming out of Ghana. It's a nation that's right at the center of this huge global movement to reconnect with the African diaspora. And it's a story that mixes history, identity, and a really big modern question about money. So let's unpack this.
So this whole thing really exploded back in 2019 with something called the Year of Return. Now you got to understand, this wasn't just some tourism slogan. This was a deep, powerful invitation to people of African descent all over the world, especially in the Americas, to come home, to reconnect with a heritage that was stolen from them by the transatlantic slave trade. It was a massive gesture of Pan-Africanism, and it got the world's attention. And this wasn't just talk, not at all. This had a real, tangible impact. Since 2019, Ghana has granted full citizenship to over 750 members of the diaspora. They're welcoming them not just as visitors, but as actual Ghanaians. But here's where this really heartwarming story of reconnection takes a sharp turn. A prominent Ghanaian lawyer, Kofi Asma, is stepping up and asking a really tough question. He's saying, is Ghana, in its generosity, actually missing a huge economic opportunity? Could this historic welcome also be a golden ticket for the nation's future? And that right there is the tension we're going to dig into.
Okay. So yeah, I think Kofi asked a very, very interesting question. He was asking if there's local accents for this. Not currently. I am hoping, I'm very, very, very hopeful that eventually we'll get local accents. Because I think most of the Google AI tools are starting to use more of a bit of local accents. And I'm hoping that eventually we'll start hearing more Kenyan accents, more Ghanaian accents, things like that. There is a tool, let me show you, I think I can, let me see, I can show it now. There is a tool called ClipChamp. It's a Google tool. Yeah. So let me quickly just go through that. So ClipChamp. So yeah, so there's a cool tool called Google ClipChamp. It's kind of a video. So it's kind of audio, video kind of editing tool, and Microsoft has these tools called an AI narration type tool. So you can write something, and it will translate it into different voices from UK to even local accents like Kenyan accents. So let me quickly just show you what to look like. Let me see. Yeah, audio. Okay, well. Yeah, yeah. Oh, text to speech. So yeah, text to speech. So let me say, hi, my name is Joseph. So there's different languages, right? So if you can see on the top here, see there's Afrikaans from South Africa, and I think there's one for Kenya as well. Let me see if it's there. The Kenya. Let's see, Kenya. Yeah. So I'm going to preview this voice here. So, workshop. So you should preview it.
Hi, my name is Joseph and welcome to my AI workshop.
So there are already tools that use voice that can actually take local accents and produce it for you. But the thing with this tool is just kind of big into Microsoft at the moment. But I know that Google is also working on local AI accent tools. So eventually, things like this, things like the video I just showed with the presentation, Google is eventually going to start adding a local accents. So right now, the only option that we have is this American type accents, but eventually they'll start adding local accents. And eventually too, they'll start adding translation to local languages. I know Google has Swahili, they have Ghana, they have Ewe. So I'm thinking eventually they'll just bake everything together and you'll see everything as a go. So yes, so thanks, Nathaniel. Yes, so I'm hoping that hopefully in the near future, you see something that has like local accents. But yes, so that is basically kind of research or using AIs for research. Any questions so far? What you've touched upon about the tools or any other things? In the chat room, you can send a message in the chat room as well. Okay. If there's no other tool, but yes, so in using all these tools, I always say use it with a bit of caution. And I say this because most of these AI tools are trained on Western data and Western sources. And sometimes they don't have this local, I guess, more local sources integrated. So AI does this thing what is called hallucination, in that it gives you fake or wrong information. And I've seen this countless of times, especially when I'm doing research on Ghanaian or African theme stories. I would say, look for a story about what the president said about XYZ. And it will produce something that it looks very, very accurate, but it's absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's like, it just makes up stuff. It will give me a fake Ghanaian name, will give me a fake date, give me a fake result. Yeah. So I always caution and say, if you are using AI, try to make sure that when you are asking for output, tell us to give you sources and links to where you got the information from. Because if it's making up stuff, it doesn't give you any links or something, you need to go back and ask it, give me a link to where you found the information from. And sometimes when you ask it to do that, it will give you a totally different output. It's like, wow, so what happened to the data you sent me before? That means it was all fake. So as I said, when you're using it for research or story development, always make sure, always take care that you're asking for links and sources because it can give you fake information. And you can always cross-check on all the links. So when they give you a link, go to that link itself. Like when you ask ChatGPT to give you a link, so click on the link to make sure that that link is accurate. Because there's some links I've clicked on and it's basically like a blank page. So it's not real. But of course, as the technology gets better and better, you get better results. But I always say when doing research, especially with African context, take your time and actually look at the sources because you don't want to print out or publish a story that's completely false. Yeah. So that is a caution when you're using the AI for research. Always check your links, check your source to make sure that it's actually viable. Okay. Any questions so far? I think this is the last section. And it's a very interesting section because it talks about ethics with AI. And we are kind of moving into a space where there's a bit of blurring of lines between how to use AI ethically and how to use it unethically. So what I'll talk about here is how do we make sure that when we're using AI is actually used in the best manner. So I'm going to give you a quick example. Have you seen this image before?
Yeah.
You've seen it before? So you know what this image is? Like you know it's AI generated.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, so this is an AI generated image. It's not real. And GH1 posted it on their social media links, but it's not a real image. So the question now I will ask is, if a news or media house publishes or creates an image and posts online, do they have a responsibility to tell you, the audience, that this is an AI generated image? I mean, yeah, the question is, should they tell you that this image is AI generated?
Just like you quoting the source.
Yeah.
And leave you right there.
Exactly. So yeah, so as you're saying, they should be telling you that where they got it from, because it's the most ethical thing to do. It's for transparency. But again, we are in this age where the line between ethics and use of AI is getting a bit blurry, and we're not doing the right thing. And now this is the image that they produced, but this is the caption that they put it with, right? It was linked to a story, and it said a banker dragged a mechanic to court because he paid him money and didn't get his car engine working well. Now, as a layperson, if I'm looking back and I just see this, my impression is that the mechanic in this picture is the one who was taken to court, because that's what the image is conveying. Yeah. So we're saying the banker, Benjamin, took a mechanic, drags the mechanic to court. When I see that, I think to myself that this is the mechanic, right? Because they're using his image. But again, it's an AI-generated image. Because if I'm taking a picture and I'm saying, first, the vice president went to a conference, I'm going to be, but I'm using the picture of the vice president's image, right? Just to convey that this is the vice president who went to this conference. So then why would you use an AI-generated image to impose here and say, this person or a person was dragged for thought to do a crime and this is what happened? So we are in this era of how do we use AI in our work as journalists and media persons? And that's what I'm saying. We need to start thinking about how do we start telling the audience or people reading our stories that we are using AI in our work. Oh, yeah. So Nathan is asking, where should the AI credit be? Where it should be? So it should be labeled in a way. So in my stories, or in a story, if I'm writing it, I will either put it as a caption or I'll put it directly on the image. So for instance, for this image, what I would have done, I would have put a little caption at the top here that says AI generated image. So when people see this, they know that, okay, this is not a real picture. It's not that you're using this for bad intent. You're just trying to be transparent and say that I'm using this image and it's not real. And I'm telling you it's not real. Because nowadays, if you go online, especially online social media, you see a lot of AI generated videos and they have no sources. And maybe a media house is not trying to be malicious, but you're not telling the audience that this is AI. You are telling people that this thing is real, it's possibly real. And I don't know that. But if you tell me it's fake, okay, that's cool, it's fake. And I know that. I'm saying we have an issue with we're juggling with what is real, what's not real. Because these AI generated images are getting really, really good. And now there's video now, they're getting really, really good. So now we have an issue of what's real, what's not. And if you're in a media space, you're a journalist, you have to tell people what's real, what's not real, or else we'll all be in trouble. So yeah, so Nathan, to answer your question, I would say put a caption on it. Yeah, I mean, wait, 1 second. So Nathan was saying that, yeah, Fiona is saying that, yeah, she would appreciate if a media house actually tells you that this is AI generated image. There was another image that came, I think it was last week. It was a story about the nurses and I think doctors, junior doctors going on strike. And one media house posted an image with a caption saying that junior doctors are going on strike next week. Now, the image they used was a young lady in a doctor's robe, white robe, standing cross, basically folded arms, looking at the camera and smiling. In the background, you could see, it was a bit blurry, but you can see other doctors and nurses there. It was an AI-generated image. But when I saw the picture, I'm like, is this a real person who's smiling, saying that I want to go on strike next week? So the question is, what does that picture try to imply? This doctor is going on strike, but she's smiling for the camera. Why? So again, we need to, I think media houses or just basically media journalists in general need to know how to use AI images. Let me show you for instance, this image in the background, let me just show you something I used real quick. 1 second. So when I'm using AI images, I don't use it a lot, but sometimes if I'm using it, I want to just show why I'm using it, right? So when I created this image, I use Google Gemini, for instance. And on the caption below, I said this image was generated with Google Gemini because this picture does not exist anywhere in the world. I took the Ghana coat of arms, I took a general passport, and I imposed everything together to imply like the golden visa, because there's no image for golden visa. Exactly. So I don't have that real life context to use image. But all my other stories, whether it's government housing, I'm using real life because there's actually housing projects in real life. I wouldn't use AI for that. But because I'm using, I can have no context for this in real life, I'm using AI to do it. And what I'm doing, I'm telling you that, hey, this image is AI generated for context and transparency. So if you are a journalist using AI or using AI imagery, it's much better for you to actually just tell people or tell your audience that this is an AI image and this is what I'm using it for. It just has the transparency. Okay. So yeah, so we're kind of in this modern era where we need to start talking about ethics when it comes to AI image usage and video usage as well. But not just with that too, but we also have to think about bias and fairness. Like I said before, most of the data that AI uses is trained on Western media or Western content. And we already know that most media houses, when it comes to maybe the African region, is a bit biased as far as when you think of Africa in their context, it's more poverty, it's more disease, things like that, war-torn areas. But Africa is very, like, there's a lot of things happening. We have cities, we have content, we have music festival, it's a long breath, but in the context of Western media and AI, you may pick up on the stereotypes of Africa, which is not right. So you need to make sure that when you are using your AI in a newsroom or in your work, that you have a very diverse data set, right? You need to make sure you are pulling not just from CNN, BBC, but you're also pulling from local media as well, because local media also tell stories on the ground. Whether it is protesting, galamsey, whatever, you need to pull that data from the local context as well. Because people on the ground reporting stories and giving you people who are doing what. So yes, we need to make sure of that as well. And I already spoke about the data security and data privacy. So I showed you that when I'm doing my transcriptions, I'm using real life people and everything. Now, that information is public because I'm recording this person. I asked their permission to record it and I put it in the transcript. So it's not like it's a hidden information. But if I'm working on a story with a whistleblower, they're trying to blow the whistle on something on corruption in Ghana or wherever. My first point, if I record an interview with them, my first point is not to put it in an AI tool, because I don't know where that information might go or how it's being held. Because I don't know if that information can be shared publicly. Because sometimes when they're using whistleblower, either voice or audio, what they do is they modify the voice, they take away the face to protect that person. But you can't take that recording of that person and just put it in AI, because that means you're exposing that person to potential dangers. So whenever we're using tools for very sensitive information, if you've got a very sensitive document, for instance, national security documents, the first point is not to put it in the AI and say, summarize it for me. It doesn't make any sense, because again, where is that information going? You don't know. So if it leaks out, they know it's coming from you. They can say, oh, we have a national security image and we want to know and Ghana who uploaded this image or who uploaded this document and where. And if it's a subpoena or legal requirement, ChatGPT or whoever can say, okay, we know who uploaded it, and then you're going to be in trouble. So when it comes to sensitive information, the first point of contact is not to go to AI. Unless, of course, you're using maybe an offline tool or open source tool that's not connected to the internet. You want to subscribe and transcribe it, fine. But if it's Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT, that's not the first point of connection. So what I like to do, what I've done with most of my media publications is I've created an AI usage policy. So I did it's just for protection and just to cover myself. So I tell, if you go to the website, for instance, let me quickly just show you. So if you go to the Labari, for instance, we have there's an AI policy usage image here. Yeah. So I tell you what our policy is, how we use AI. So I tell you that we use it for content enhancement. So I tell you that we use AI to summarize reports, we generate headlines, and we do things, but everything is approved by us first before it goes out. We're not just like generating and just publishing. We're saying we use AI, review it, and then we edit it and we publish. We tell you use it for fact checking and research. And that's what we say. And what we say we're never going to do is we're not going to use AI to become our journalists. And we're not going to use it to deceive or create deep fakes or manipulate facts, because I'm not going to use AI to generate AI videos, because I want everything to be factual. And we're just being transparent and being accurate. So we say from time to time, we actually update this policy if need be. And I can show you that there are some stories we've generated AI, but when we generate these stories, if I can find one second. Yes. So this is a story that came out, I think it was last week or so. It was about right information law and institution that had like kind of violated the law. So what I did was I just told AI that I want you to summarize the story for me in a very quick brief. And what I did was I came in and did some small editing. So I got the stats, I got the data, the reports, and the headlines, and I put my image in there. By the end of it, I put a disclaimer that said that this article was edited with AI and reviewed by human editors, meaning that the majority of this article is AI generated. But I know that, but I want the audience of the reader to know that I took AI and I generated a story and I reviewed it and I published it, just to make sure that I'm being transparent. Because nowadays, what's happening in the news media is that people are just creating the stories and not saying that they were generated by AI. And that's what we're kind of like in this blurry world, like what is real, what's not real. Are journalists actually writing the story, or are they just putting it through AI and publishing for the audience? And I think it's crucial. I personally think it's crucial to tell the audience that you're using AI. So me personally, I wish all media houses would have an AI usage policy that say that we're using AI for this and this purposes. Because I've seen stories that come out in big name media houses where they don't say they're using it, but I can see, because I've been using these tools for a long time, I can see this is AI generated, and they don't say anything. Now, it's fine, but at some point in time is, if the information comes out, the output is not real, and it affects somebody or someone, yes, then you're in trouble, because then they can say it's defamation. Oh, you put out this thing. You can come and say to my defense, oh, it's AI, we didn't know, or whatever. But you haven't put any disclaimer saying that this was an error, this was AI. You haven't put anything. But you just put it out as if a human wrote that story and published it. So just for transparency's sake and just to save yourself, you should always put that in your articles as far as AI usage. It helps you, and it helps basically media brand in a way. Any questions so far from the audience or? Anything else? We're getting close to the end. So yeah. So we create that policy, and I do this for both my website for Labari General and Tech Labari as well, to make sure that we're covered. But yeah, I think that's up to the end. So yes, so basically that's basically it. So like I said before, in the beginning, prompt engineering is very, very important when it comes to using a tool. There's several tools out there, but they all follow this principle of prompt usage or good prompt usage. And they're all very, very powerful. So how you choose to actually input your prompt will get you the better results at the end. So make sure your prompt is always about the role-playing side. As a journalist, as an editor, as a copywriter, copy editor, put that role there in the beginning and then tell the AI what you want it to do. You can ideate, you can say, I want a 7-word headline, I want an 8-word headline, I want a 10-word headline, I want a 400-word article using AP Star, Washington Post, Major Online. You can do all that if you want to. So you can build your internal kind of like, so maybe there's a template we create for, what should be else again? The custodian. So yeah, so you can even create like a policy on this is how it's your style. And they can put AI and say, this is the style of the custodian. Write a story based on our style. And it can give you the outputs. So yes, and using AI for story development and data. There are a lot of, like I said before, Google LM, Perplexity, Grok, ChatGPT, they're all very, very, very powerful for story development. And you can use it for various data gathering. You can ask for data for charts. You can ask for data for speeches, like I said before. I think I did one story recently on, I think it was, what was it? I think it was something, once again. Yeah, I think it was the housing information. So I just said, I want to know the cost. Give me a list of housing projects in Ghana, and I want the cost for each one. So when it gets me that data, I can see, okay, this project in 2021 cost this much. This project in 2017 cost this much. And I can get all the data and I can put it in my article and create a chart or visualization. But again, you have to be careful when it comes to using AI, because again, it can hallucinate. So I can ask it to give me that data on housing, and they can make up something totally fake. They can say, oh yeah, in 2021, this housing project came and it cost this much. But if I don't get a link to maybe a story or a data point, then I'm not going to use that information because maybe it's fake or it's hallucinated. So you should always fact check or cross check what data comes out of it. Yeah. And lastly, ethics and usage of AI. Again, we're at this era again, we have to have this debate about ethics because it's getting kind of, I don't know, scary or very dicey when it comes to how people are using AI. Because if anybody can post an image, AI image online, it doesn't say it's what the image is. We're blending the line between reality and fakeness. And if we are media journalists or media houses, we need to make sure we're telling the truth. Otherwise, if a blogger or anybody just posts stuff online, they can say, oh, well, everybody's doing it, so why can't I do it? But as journalists, you have to lead by example. So yes, always try to at least try to think about AI policy. How are you using the AI? When are you using it? What are you using it for? It's going to help in the end cover you when it comes to maybe even legal stuff. But yeah, I think with that, I think we'll come to the end of the workshop. Any questions, any wrap-up questions? Okay, I think Tanya was saying that there's going to be a big push for media companies to actually have their own internal AI, like McKinsey. And it's true. I think Google is currently building tools for different segments. I think even media and journalists are going to be part of that segment. So we will get there eventually, but right now we have these different tools, but eventually there's going to be a holistic tool because It's AI for doctors, AI for finance people, AI for wherever. So eventually it's going to be AI for journalists. I think OpenAI is building some for the media houses in the West, for CNN and everything. But we don't have one for the I get the broad base. But eventually we will get one as well, where maybe instead of me going to ChatGPT, Grok, everything, it's all going to be housed in one specific tool. So eventually that's going to come. But yeah, okay, great. Oh yeah, thank you, Fiona, for the compliments. But yeah, if there's no other question, I think we can wrap it up here. If you have any questions about the tool or anything, please let me know. But yeah, I think there's no other feedback or anything. I think we'll come to a close. Yeah. So thanks for coming. I really appreciate you guys online, especially. Thank you for the comments. Please, we will subsequently be hopefully having more events. One second. Yeah, AI framework. Yes, so AI framework. Hopefully, Ministry of Communication will actually build something about this for not just like in general, but also for media houses as well. Because I think there's a broadcast bill or misinformation bill coming out. So I don't know if they're incorporating anything about AI, but it'll be good to have. But yeah, subsequently, like I said before, we'll be having more media type events at Google. We'll probably be getting actual Google people to come and talk about the tools they're building for journalists and researchers and media people over time. So yeah, so if you can help fill out this feedback form for me, I'll relay it to Lambert and let him know, because he said that eventually we're having more events. So I'll be inviting you guys to come along, maybe in-house, maybe next time, or maybe online and in-house as well. So yeah, so thank you everybody in the chat. I think we can wrap it up here. It's 11:21. So thank you very much for showing up. I think this is recorded. What I'll do is, for the recording, I'll resend to everybody if you want to like go back and listen to. And I'll send you guys a follow-up email for the feedback as well. And yeah, and any other events, upcoming events, I'll let you know ahead of time. Well, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate making the time. And